Fargo City Commissioner Michelle Turnberg is in the house. How are you, Commissioner?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. There was a little, I don't know if it's called a row or just a dispute. I mean, it's policy, it's hiring. But first off, you pulled off the consent calendar, the new health officer being hired.
Yes.
Right? And that new health officer was the former mayor, and Tim Mahoney. Why did you do that?
Well, we've been talking about this so much throughout the campaign, and I think just in general that we need transparency in the city, and we need to let residents know what we're doing with their money. And I think it's just important. A big position like that should be discussed. And it's not so much about the person or having any sort of disagreement, or that's not it. It's having a process where we know what's going on and it's not snuck in. And all of a sudden, we have no idea what's going on. We have a new person leading our public health office. So let's have discussions and be able to ask questions publicly so the residents know what's going on in the city.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think it belonged on the consent calendar. I think it's a big enough position where you talk about it. Where I disagree a little bit with what you just said is, I don't think this is any payback, any political. Let me be clear about that. I think that when you're hiring the ex-mayor that's been the mayor for years and he's about to be an employee of Fargo, there's question marks that go behind that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but there are.
There are. And I think some of them, and I disagreed with some of the other commissioners that were just so adamant about going forward. There are questions because, is this cronyism? I mean, Mahoney hired Jen Fall. Now Jen Fall hires the mayor without any other discussion. That was one thing that stuck out to me. He had just donated or requested to donate over $140,000 of donated flood relief money to the new deck, which was his pet project for many years to get that resource and recovery center, which is, the center. That's great. But, is this payback for getting all that money? It's just questions that we would like to know. And many, many doctors have another position in addition to the practice. I, work in medical sales. I have so many doctors that are speakers for different companies that do things on the side, which are very lucrative, but that's common. So for Commissioner Strand to say that, oh, we're so lucky. No, many, many doctors do this type of thing, where it's just a few hours a day or week, and they make good money doing it. But let's have some conversation about why this person is being hired.
Well, take a step back and watch me do what I do best, which is get in trouble. I look at this as though whoever you're going to hire as a health officer, you hopefully put somebody in that's incredibly qualified, which I think, Dr. Mahoney is. I'm not disputing that. But you put somebody in where 5 years from now, 7 years from now, they're your health officer.
Right.
And that isn't going to be that way with Tim Mahoney. He's not a young man.
No.
He's not. And I said those same things about the presidents when they were running, both of them. I said, these aren't young men. And so there's where I get in trouble when I say that you should rethink when you hire people based on age.
That's just fact. And I don't even think that's opinion. It's just what we're dealing with. And so, yes, I don't think he will be here when he's 85. So that's definitely something else to think of. Can we have some stability and longevity in that position? That is another question that I think could have been asked.
So I think also, while we're agreeing on some of these things here, it needs to be said that neither one of us disagree. I mean, I think he can do the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And I think reducing the price of the job is a good thing.
Well, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And agree or disagree, but to get a great salary compensation for just 4 hours a week, but then in addition to get paid for interviews. I've never been paid for an interview in my life that I can think of. Yeah. It's just, to me, that should be part of the job. And it's quite a bit. I mean, it's almost $200 an interview.
I thought, and maybe I read the press release or read the report wrong this morning, but I thought it looked like the tab, the bill for paying him actually went down. That it was going to cost less under Tim Mahoney than what it cost previously.
And if that's surprising, that's probably something that we should be aware of. And it was put on I believe what Jen Fall had said at the last meeting was that they had tried to make some cuts. But what I was shocked at, she was flabbergasted that I would want to take this off the consent agenda, but we're in the middle of budget right now. And so we are looking at cutting wherever we can, or I am. I know another commissioner is. And so if there's ways that we can save money, we need to look at that and discuss it and not just put a stamp on it and be done.
So this is done. I mean, he's got the job.
Yeah.
It's done. Okay, so let's talk about going forward. It's a whole new commission. I mean, you've got a man you ran against who's now mayor, and I thought you two handled the post-election, pretty well when you talked about how, hey, we're going to work together and do what we can together. But you're looking over at that table at two new commissioners. I mean, as it's about getting the job done, I mean, what are you seeing that you like? What are you seeing that you see is going to be hurdles here?
Well, it is like drinking water out of a fire hose when you begin. And I think most importantly, we should have this election moved to November so people have the time to get acquainted with the position and the budget, which is about 6 inches thick, because they were put into office July 1st. And we're in the midst of the budget right now. So it's a lot of learning. What I'm seeing is, Chad Peterson is dug in. He is studying that budget like crazy and getting after it. Commissioner Gullickson, I don't really have, she doesn't have much of a stance. A lot of her answers are, I don't know yet on different issues. So she's still learning. And I know Mayor Boschee is still learning because it's a lot to take in and understand before you get into the swing of things and things become the new normal.
Here's the shock. Michelle, you ready?
Yeah.
I think the election should be held in the fall too.
Yeah. Oh, look at us, Joel.
I do. And my reason is different. I think it's because nobody votes.
Well, no, I'm 100% on board with you there. I think we will. Well, I believe the percentages in a June election are in the teens for voter turnout, high teens. And then when
Abby
we get
and I have talked about that many times.
And it's, June pontoon season, right? People are not focused on city events. But November, when you have the big presidential elections or other legislative elections, that's when we need to do it, when people are actually engaged and going to the polls so we get a better read of our public. And it's not just that tiny amount, only 10,000 votes elected your mayor in a city the size of 140,000 people.
Yeah. I just want a time where the most people vote.
Yes, 100%.
Let the chips fall where they may, but where the most people turn out to vote, that's when voting should be held. Want to ask you about this. You've got Tony Gehrig and Arlette Preston. Nobody is going to see those two go camping together. Fair?
I would think not.
Okay. You've got two completely separate philosophies on what you do with things. That being said, they both are pushing that measure that says, you know what, the city should expand, and we should do this by region, zone, whatever the definition is. And the city commission should be the city council. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't like how this was put forward to the public. They could have done it so it would be on the November election where we actually have voter turnout and get a better percentage of voters deciding on a new governance for our city. Instead, they timed it out so there's a special election, which is going to cost us upwards of about $100,000 for city residents of Fargo, and we'll get about 7% of voters turning out. To me, that doesn't represent the city. So I don't like that aspect of it. I also don't like, you don't know what you're voting for. We don't know where the wards will be.
I agree with the first part. The second part, they've been doing a pretty good job of going out.
Oh, they're very organized and they're getting their message out and selling it very well. I agree with that. But the wards are not set up, so you don't know.
I see what you're getting at.
You don't know what you're getting. If this were to pass, then a committee will be selected and they will decide where the boundaries are. So to me, it just seems like it opens up the possibility of gerrymandering. There's so many questions about it.
What about a bigger, let's say the word board now rather than council or commission?
Sure.
What about more people in the room?
Well, I like being able to vote on all of the candidates so you can pick the top two or however many we're picking in that election. You might have 8 and you pick the top 2 that you think will do the best job representing. This way you're only picking 1, but yet that person has citywide authority on voting on everything in the city. So if there's a commissioner or a council person you don't like, you don't have any chance of voting them out of office.
So
if
they
it's in a
don't
ward.
have your vote, is what I'm hearing. You're a no vote.
I don't like how it's set up. So this is a no vote for me on wards.
Okay.
Yes.
To me, what I'd like to see when it comes to elections like this is things, and this is a bad example because you're going to have, it's a yes or no, right? But in the city, I'd like to see these races maybe run earlier and then get down to 2 candidates.
Sure.
Get
So maybe
down
have
to,
a primary in June and then elect
right.
them. And,
I mean,
right.
I remember the last race for city commission before this one. There was 20 some candidates.
Oh my goodness.
We tried to hold information debate. We'd had to break it in 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
and that's
brutal.
not representative.
Fargo City Commissioner Michelle Turnberg is our guest. Commissioner, let's get to some of the comments that people are making. It says the problem is the commission hiding big dollar spending on the consent agenda, just like nearly the $200,000 for the fence at police parking lot. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think everything should be discussed when it comes to spending taxpayer money. I do think if we're going to have a department called harm reduction that costs Fargo taxpayers $3.4 million, that we should have harm reduction for our police officers that risk their lives every day. I think a fence is peanuts compared to what they do.
I think more than anything, I took that as though, hey, let's know about it.
But absolutely, let's know about it.
So another one says, Joel, been on the consent calendar for years. Salary did go down. We are lucky to have him, meaning Mahoney. He hits the ground running and knows the program. Her negative attitude is problematic.
How am I negative?
Hold on, hang in there. Be ready to be a talk show host. It says, her negative attitude is problematic. I'm 56 and will never understand the ageism from people. Experience isn't a bad thing. Stop knocking people that want to stay working and using their knowledge. So we both got some in there.
Well, I don't get it. I'm about that age. I don't see, and I'm not being negative, but Fargo Cass has a history of sneaking things on to doing things or implementing them without the city knowing, including giving away 7,000 crack pipes. So we need to know what's going on and not have things just done without either communicating or authorization.
Somebody said, Joel, the first part is state laws to be separate vote from other elections. The city has no choice but to.
No, the state can change it.
Well, right. But they're right about
we cannot change it,
right,
but the state legislators can.
Another one. Joel, I find it disingenuous that Commissioner Turnberg is concerned about the potential gerrymandering of wards. Her party has never met a gerrymandered district they didn't like.
This has nothing to do with wards, with parties, but you don't know what the ward is going to be when you go vote.
Last question. This is my gotcha question. You ready?
Okay.
Are you about to be state representative?
No, I don't live in that district.
There's a lot of people that think you are going to make a way to make this work.
Oh, my goodness. I don't live there. So is that legally possible when you don't live in the district?
It's possible to move. I mean, what we're talking about is
moving?
Jim Casper's not going to be able to serve. And Jim Casper, I'm surprised hasn't stepped aside already because there's work to do.
Yes.
Or his family hasn't had him step aside. So that is not going to happen, is what you're saying.
No.
There. I got my soundbite. Commissioner Turnberg is always good to talk to you.
It was good to see you.
Sometimes it's spirited, sometimes it's polite, sometimes, we're who we are.
We're friends, people. We're friends.
So we'll see you soon.
Thank you.